Hi, this is Tomas, and this is the third video in the Studying for Exam series. It's about how to review and relax just before and during the exam itself. What I'll introduce here is a basic reviewing technique called concept hierarchy. It's a kind of approach in which you look at the material from a very detailed angle through definitions, and then gradually zoom out, looking at broader attributes, look at analysis, comparison, and finally think about bigger conceptual interpretation. So how would you do it? Let's say you've got a couple of pages of text. The first thing you could do is to identify what are some of the major words that you should have studied and understood by now. You can underline or identify those concepts and ask yourself, can I define this? Do I actually understand these words? This ensures that you know your vocabulary, and if somebody asks you on a multiple choice question, you know what the term is. The second level would be to look at the material and try to think more broadly. If I see a term like chloroplast or Golgi apparatus, you can ask yourself, all right, what are the basic characteristics of this apparatus? What are the causes? What are the outcomes? What are the functions? What the second layer, the attributes, allows you to do is to start creating connections. You won't just see a definition by itself, but you'll start seeing definitions in the broader context and how they're connected to other things. The next layer would be analysis. And this is where you can ask yourself, all right, how does this occur? Or what is the evolutionary reason for it? Do all plants or animals have this? Are there different ways of interpreting this phenomenon and so on? In this way, you are going beyond the basic characteristics of something, but you're trying to look at larger systems and connecting things in the bigger picture. And then finally, you can look at interpretation. This way you can look at a whole chapter or a section, identify two major things, let's say photosynthesis or something similar, and ask yourself, all right, what does it do? What are the stages? Why is it significant? Do I need to consider other related concepts? When you do this, you're essentially exercising your brain and your memory and your thinking skills on all levels. You will know your definitions, you will know how things are related, you will see the bigger framing, the bigger concepts that are present in the material, and also effectively be able to write a miniature essay on the subject. And when you look at it from the perspective of writing an exam, it will allow you to answer multiple choice questions, short answers, but also essays. And this is what good exam study is all about. It's difficult to give advice on doing exams because everybody has their own ways of doing it, but here are a few things that might be relevant. First thing, prepare. Prepare beforehand, and then once the exam actually arrives, relax. Try not to cram at the very, very last morning moment, but put yourself in thinking mode and actually allow yourself to think. You know what you know, you've learned what you've learned, now focus on answering the questions rather than stressing about the exam. And actually, if you've prepared more and prepared in a really dynamic way, as I've shown in the previous two videos, you should actually be more comfortable because you'll be more comfortable in knowing what is it that you can do with the information you've studied. Second recommendation, read the instructions. Most of the errors that arise in doing exams, especially multiple choice questions, is that students do not carefully read the instructions. So without wasting too much time, give yourself enough to actually read and understand what they're about. Carefully read each question. And if you do not understand something, or if it's not phrased well enough, find a way of communicating that to your lecturer, because it's important that you actually understand what you're being asked to do. But while being in a slightly relaxed mode is important, of course, don't relax too much. You do not have all the time in the world, and it is good to get a sense of how long questions will be taking you. It's very often useful to get sample exams or to get an understanding of what type of exam you'll be taking, and then do a bit of practice so that you can gauge how long a specific type of question will take you. And if you use the reviewing strategy I mentioned earlier, you might actually be quite comfortable knowing how long it's going to take you to do a short answer, to do a multiple choice, or to design and write a brief essay question. So very best of luck.